Hey guys, Darth Glork here, back with another positive anime review. Today we will be talking about, oh man, so here's the problem, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. I don't even know. It's on screen, I'll type it out or something, it'll be great. But, part of the English name is Compulsive Gambler, so, you know, you can just look at that part of it. I'm not even going to attempt it, man. I don't know how to pronounce that. Anyway, but most people, I feel like, probably can just look at the name of this anime, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that's the gambling one." Well, yeah, that's the one. That is the one. So, it hasn't been too long since my last positive anime review, and I feel like I got through this one pretty quick, and so there is more here than the last anime I watched, so it does kind of explain the delay. Anyway, so let's just hop right into the review. So when did this anime air? This aired in the summer 2017 for 2017 season for season 1. Now, I think what we'll probably do here, I wonder if I should open the second one at the same time and do them both. Maybe let's do that. So that was for season 1. Season 2 is, and this is a much more recent one by comparison to some of the other anime I tend to watch, but the second season is the same name, it just has 2 X's afterwards. And so otherwise it is the same name, but it's just the second season, and the second season aired in the winter 2019. So if this is approximately a little over a year ago, maybe, but it is much more recent than some other animes that I have watched. Now, there is a dub. I am almost positive there is a dub because I'm pretty sure I watched it. At least I think I did. Anyway, I'm pretty sure there is a dub because I'm pretty sure I remember watching it a little bit in season 1. Now, I did watch almost the entire show, seasons 1 and 2, dubbed because I do prefer, or subbed because I prefer subbed over dubbed. But I think I remember watching 1 or 2 episodes in dubbed in the first season, and according to the little bit I saw, it did seem really, really good. So I do recommend the dub if you are a fan of that, because even being a subbed fan, and I did find it pretty enjoyable. Now, let's see. This is an adaptation from a manga, and this is even easier to figure out than other ones because it literally has the link to all of the manga that's actually on sale right on the site. So there definitely is a adaptation from a manga, and I definitely should read the manga. I wonder if it's like ongoing or what. I don't really know. But anyway. So, we're going to go ahead and hop right into the synopsis, because that'll be a way better way of summing up this whole thing, because this is quite the anime to dive into, so I figure definitely the synopsis for this one is even more important than maybe otherwise. Anyway, unlike many schools, attending Hyakao, maybe? I'm not sure how to pronounce the academy name, big surprise there. For this fancy private academy prepares students for their time in the real world. Since many of these students are children of the richest people in the world, the academy has its quirks that separate it from all others. By day, it is a normal school educating its pupils in history, languages, and the like, but at night, it turns into a gambling den, educating them on the art of dealing with money and manipulating people. Money is power. Those who come out on top in the game stand at the top of the school. Yumiko Jabami is seemingly naive and beautiful transfer student, is ready to try her hand at the academy's special curriculum. Unlike the rest, she doesn't play to win, but for the thrill of the gamble, and her borderline insane way of gambling might just bring too many new cards to the table. So, this is a definitely unique anime. I've never seen one quite like it, and I have now seen this anime twice, I believe. So yeah, I've seen this anime twice, and it is quite the thing. So the synopsis does explain it, but it's a gambling anime. So this whole thing, the whole premise is solved by gambling at this fancy school, and the cast of characters truly is very hard to forget. That's for sure, very hard to forget. So similar anime, I really can't think of any. It's really on a class unto its own. But as far as rating goes, how clean or dirty is the anime? Sorry about that. I guess something of mine is on. Let me turn that off. Oh, for the love. Anyway, sorry. It's already getting spam notifications. That's so much fun. Anyway, so rating. How clean or dirty is the anime? Definitely going to give this one a mature rating, an R rating. This anime is a lot to take in. So a lot of the characters are super duper crazy, and they definitely get I would definitely say a sexual thrill out of the whole gambling thing, all the tension and whatever, right? Well, including the main character and a slew of side characters are all the same way. So it definitely a mature rating for this one, because it is a lot to take in. It's a lot to take in. So I definitely would have to give this one a mature rating. And there is there is lots of language in it as well. So like I said, definitely enforces that mature rating. So genre should be, nothing too insane. The genre it lists game as a genre. I wouldn't really label game a genre, but mystery, psychological drama, school. So nothing too crazy there. I'm hopping over to my cheat sheet quite a bit. Season length, so each season there is 2 seasons, and each season is 12 episodes long, and the episode length is exactly normal. Now, I do not remember there ever being anything after the closing song, so after the closing song hits, I believe you are more than welcome to take off, if memory serves. And as always, I encourage you to double check because that's a lot to get through, and it's hard to remember every single episode and every single season. But if memory serves, there is nothing after each episode. So now we can hop into the character list. And the character list, although technically the character list is very long, there is a lot of supporting characters in the anime. So it lists 3 main characters, but there is a few characters that I am going to, supporting characters that I am going to hop into as well. And I will open a separate list for them. Let me see if I can find it. So yeah, those 3, and I'll briefly touch on, I'm just taking a quick glance at the character list before I really hop into this. Okay, so I'm going to hop into, there's a couple of supporting characters that I'm going to list as well. So but otherwise there is 3 characters that it lists as main characters, a couple supporting characters I feel are important enough that are worth mentioning. Otherwise, the anime introduces them all totally fine, obviously on their own, so I don't think there's too much hand-holding needed. So for our first main character, and definitely the main character, is Yumiko Jabami. So Yumiko is the driving star, I would say, and she is quite something. She's quite something. So a lot of everybody of the giant cast of characters, everyone has motives, obviously. Everyone has a motive as to why they gamble, why they're at the school, who they're related to that's super influential or important, whatever. Well, Yumiko, she's kind of this anomaly, because she shows up and just rocks the boat. Like, immediately she starts challenging different, very important people at the school for different, very high-risk gambles, and sometimes she loses in catastrophic ways, and sometimes she wins in insane, very surprising ways, but even if she wins or loses, she has this, aura about her, where she's totally super excited just to be there. So for her, her whole driving purpose is just to gamble. All she wants to do is gamble. She doesn't so much care if she wins or loses, so long as the gamble is very, very exciting and the stakes are very, very high. And so it's interesting because obviously for most everybody else, if they bet whatever, $1,000,000 or something, it's a giant gamble. And then if they lose, it's a pretty catastrophic thing to have happen. Because now suddenly, your millions and millions, in the negative or whatever. Or maybe your influence in the school just plummets because now everyone just saw you get crushed or whatever. Well, for Yumiko, there's a few gambles where she gambles and then really, really loses. But she's just super, super zen. Because for her, she gets this, definite sexual thrill out of gambling. Just the whole process for her of just gambling, whether she wins or loses, is so worth the ride that for her it's totally worth it. So she ends up being a lot of fun because anytime she's on screen, you're just excited that she's there because she's always this super zen presence. And it's funny because there's one character throughout the entire anime that she super hates, and so it's weird because it's the only person she super hates. Even people that really hate her, she really doesn't hate back. So it's really interesting. But she's a very interesting and very in-depth character, and I don't think I've quite seen anyone that's quite like her, honestly. She is quite the character, but she's very, very beautiful. She is the black-haired character that is no doubt on screen now, and probably pretty central in any of the art I'm able to find. So I imagine that she'll be pretty recognizable. But she is adorable, and honestly, one of my favorite things about her is her little laugh. She has this little giggle that is so stinking cute. So she is a very good time, and definitely I would say, I don't know, the alpha main character, if that makes any sense. But she is she's quite something. You never meet anyone that's quite like her, to be honest with you. But moving on to our next main character, it lists her as a main character. I would maybe lean towards supporting character, but I'll just give it to him. But next up we have Mary Satome. So Mary is the blonde and probably probably the most blonde out of any one of the characters, but she'll just hopefully she will be on screen right now. I don't know why I can't speak. Anyway, so Mary is quite interesting because in a lot of ways she's very similar to Yumiko in the way that she gets this thrill out of gambling, but she's way more down to earth than Yumiko is. Yumiko is just like the Joker. She's just like it's really hard to pin down her motivations or what she's after or what really drives her, like, you know, a lot of the time. Where with Mary, she has like portions of her that is very, very similar to Yumiko, where she's just insane and she's just doing it just to gamble because it's very exciting. Whereas other times she's very, very down to earth, where she has very down to earth motives or whatever. And so right in the beginning, she's kind of set up as like this, I don't know, kind of villain character where you don't really have any drive, and she definitely feels like a bad guy to you or whatever. But she very, very quickly like becomes definitely one of the friend pieces, and then you're really excited that she's there, and then it's actually super, super interesting. So either way, she's a very, very she's an interesting character and definitely a necessary piece, but she kind of has this interesting 50-50 split of being down to earth but also kind of insane. So either way, she was very, very interesting throughout both seasons, and quite interesting. And I really do like her after she comes around and ends up being a friend to Yumiko and stuff. And in her own, like, I don't really want to be friends kind of way, it is very interesting. So moving on to our next main character, and one of the only males in the anime, is we have Ryota Suzui. So Ryota is it's interesting because he's very, I don't know, low on the totem pole. He's not very great. He's not insane at gambling like a lot of these people, where they're just very naturally skilled. They're very, very good. Sometimes they win, lose. Sometimes they win big or they lose big, but always the stakes are very high or whatever. Well, Ryota's not like that. He's very down to earth, and I feel like much more of a regular person than a lot of these people. And so a lot of the time, it's kind of nice to have him around because he's like this anchor piece of like he's way more adjusted than your average person here. And so you kind of feel bad for him a lot of the time because he's just like locked in the center of all these super crazy people, and he's just like the least crazy person there. So it ends up being very interesting, to say the least. But Ryota, he is the, dark-haired male, one of the only males on screen probably, so odds are he should be fairly recognizable. But Ryota is very, very interesting. He's very, very down-to-earth. I think he definitely crushes on Yumiko. I think that's pretty obvious. And he tends to stick around her all the time, and he's definitely part of her circle or whatever, and I think that she definitely likes him too. But how much, I mean, as a friend for sure, but too much more than that, it's hard to say. But Ryota's very, very down to earth and always he's this anchor piece, and he's very, very essential. Having someone that feels very regular in this sea of like really crazy people is kind of really nice, to be honest. And so it was definitely a good thing to have him around. That's for sure, because he ends up being very essential that way. So that is technically it for our list of characters. Technically, that is all it lists as main characters. But there's a few side characters that it labels as supporting characters that I feel are very much worth mentioning. So our first character that I'm going to mention is Kirari Momobami. I have to say that very slowly because my stutter would just never allow me to say that smoothly. But Kirari is the president. She's the student council president, and she is very crazy like Yumiko, but she's kind of, in some ways, she's a different brand of crazy. She gives different brands different vibes in her crazy, if that makes any sense. But Kirari, she's like this lighter-haired character. It's really hard with my poor, I am colorblind, but she has this like Ice Queen vibes, where she has this like light blue aesthetic. So hopefully she's somewhere on screen right now and you can tell who she is. But Kirari is very, very interesting. So like I said, she does give a lot of the same crazy vibes that Yumiko has, but she is the student council president, and while a lot of the other people on her student council are pretty down to earth, where they have like genuine motivations, and they have genuine I want power, or I want to be famous, or I want lots of money, or whatever their issue is, and they're on the student council because they're very, very good at gambling or whatever. Kirari is very interesting because although she's the boss, and although she is like the most skilled in the school possibly, I mean, she's either, her and Yumiko kind of go hand in hand of who you think is like the best gambler in the school. Kirari like gives this vibe where she's not invested, she's not driven by things that other people are. She's a lot like Yumiko, where she gets this thrill out of gambling, and for her it's just about the fun of the gamble, and that's all she really ends up caring about. She doesn't really care if she like, for her it's the same thing as Yumiko. She just wants it to be exciting, and if it's exciting, she got got what she wanted out of it. And so there's, especially in season 2, there is a lot that happens and a lot that gets shaken up and lots of things develop where a lot of it is all Kirari's doing, where she just, stews the pot and throws things around and makes things even more insane and more crazy. Where it's just to make it exciting, just to screw with you, just to be super hectic and just to be really, really, just like, let's just make it exciting. Let's just throw this all up. Let's just make everything super crazy or whatever. And so she ends up being really, really interesting and a very fascinating character to be sure. Otherwise, the other supporting character that I want to mention is, let me hop to this other tab here. I think it's this one, actually, is Sayaka Igarashi. So Sayaka is the student council secretary, I believe. She's the student council secretary, and Sayaka is always at the president's side, and she's much more of a quieter character. I mean, that she is interesting and she's very pretty. She has, I think it's purple. I gotta go switch screens. In this picture, I think it looks like she has black hair, but she has like a side ponytail, and odds are you'll find her in close proximity to the president. But she is very different because she's very much driven by logic. But she's a really cool character, but she's much more important in some certain episodes in the second season, and so until you get to the second season, that she might just feel like a background character up until those moments, and then it is episodes, and I'm gonna dive into that later in the next section of the review, a little bit more about why I like her and stuff. But suffice it to say that she feels much more like a background character, a supporting character, one of the cast, but otherwise not too crazy, up until the second season, and then we'll talk more about that in the next section. But other than that, though, there is that's more or less all the characters. The second season, as far as the character list goes, it adds a lot more characters and some big plot things develop and stuff. But otherwise, they're all supporting characters, and the anime is going to introduce them, better than I could, and they don't feel so important that I feel the driving need to go through them. So otherwise, I think my encouragement to you would be check out just watch the anime, and we'll get to all the ratings and crap obviously later on. But when you watch it, and hopefully you will, then you'll find out that it's all who everyone is and all the motivations there and all that jazz. But otherwise, that's more or less all the character list. As far as it occurs to me that I probably should read the synopsis for the second season. I mean, probably. I guess I could read the synopsis of the next season, but let's wait to bring that up a little bit later. Let's hop into the next section of the review, which is the favorite / most hated characters. Who did I love? Who did I hate? And and why or whatever. So as far as my favorite characters, it should come as no surprise that I super love Yumiko. Yumiko is one of my favorite characters. I'm just happy whenever she's on screen. More than the fact that she's super, super pretty. More than that, she's just such a good time. It's just really cool to watch like a Joker-esque character step into it and just kick over the trash can. You know what I mean? Just walks in and just throws everything into complete disarray. And it's definitely a lot of fun watching her whenever she's on screen. And she definitely gives me Joker vibes in a lot of the time because she's just nuts. I mean, just as the things go on, you're like, she's just crazy. And it definitely hits you as farther as things go on. It's just, you're more and more convinced that she's absolutely insane. But as far as other favorite characters of mine go, I am a big fan of the President, Kirari. She is my other favorite character, and because she is also crazy, but she gives me different vibes of crazy than Yumiko is. Yumiko is more, it's like louder about how insane she is, whereas Kirari gives me this like crazy, I don't know, Ice Queen vibes, where she's crazy, but like in a more of a calculating way, and less of a planned out, I don't know, like Yumiko feels like a lot of the time she acts on spur of the moment things, where later on, it's revealed that she is very smart and she figures things out about how gambles work and who's cheating and how or whatever. But Kirari feels like that she's like this master manipulator with really cool vibes that I super, super liked. And the other character that I really, really like is Sayaka. So Sayaka, like I said, is the secretary, and she's pretty much just like the personal assistant of the president, pretty much. But she definitely crushes on her, and they are definitely a pairing I ship the snot out of, that's for sure. But I wanted to mention really quick though, she gets like a lot of really good attention in episodes, I think it was 9 and 10. I think it was episodes 9 and 10 of season 2. In episodes 9 and 10 of season 2, her and the president get some specific time between the two of them, and so obviously considering I was already shipping them, that it was super, super fun. So definitely worth watching season 2. Best moment of the entire anime is, I think it's episodes 9 and 10 of season 2. So even if the rest of it you're like, this was pretty cool, it's worth sticking around just to get to that moment. So just take my advice. But otherwise, as far as characters I hated, I didn't really hate anybody. I mean, not a lot. If there's any characters I disliked, there's this eye patch character that she was freaking crazy, and her name is Madari, and I didn't really like her very much. But otherwise, like, I didn't hate her. I just didn't super, super love her. So I don't think that really counts. But otherwise, there's like all the characters are super well made, and their motivations or why they think the things they do or whatever. They're very, very cool, and they're all really well put together, and they definitely make the show. I mean, without it, the premise by itself is very cool, but not, like, insane, but the characters really bring everything together, and they're what motivates them or whatever, and it's worth sticking around all of that just for those moments, so definitely worth it. So moving on to our next section, we have anime and music. How did it look? How did it sound? Etc., etc. So the anime for this one is very, very pretty. It is very, very well put together. It is definitely has that modern standard of a lot of the time of what a lot of anime are like these days, where they are very, very pretty to look at. This anime is no exception. It is very, very pretty to look at, and it, like, a lot of the art style really, like, brings it out. When characters are having crazy moments, I feel like the art style definitely brings it to life, whereas if it had a different art style, it might not hit the same. But it is very, very pretty to look at, which is super fun for me, obviously, because obviously as you're watching it and as you're paying attention, and you see these super pretty characters, the art style really brings it to life, so nothing wrong there. As far as the music goes, that's actually another really, really cool point of this anime. The opening song, I think it's especially of season 1. The opening song and closing song, they absolutely slap. They are amazing. They are straight up fire. And it's actually interesting because the opening song of season 1, I actually already added to my music list, and it was really, really cool. It's called Deal with the Devil by Tia, I guess is how you pronounce it, but that's the opening theme. And that song absolutely slaps. And so it's interesting because I added it to my music list, and so I was listening to it for years, and then years later, I feel like I was listening to it for quite a while, and I guess season 1 aired in 2017, and although I don't know if the song was made for the anime or if it came before that, I've been listening to that song a very long time. And so then when I was listening to it and I was watching the anime, suddenly the song I already knew comes up, and I'm like, why does this sound so familiar? And then it hit me that it's because I had been listening to the song a very long time already. And so it was very, very interesting, and so it is straight up fire. So definitely, it's one of those anime I highly recommend sticking around for the full-on anime, or the full-on opening song, and not skipping through it, because the song is fire, and you'll be doing yourself a favor, to be sure. So other than that, though, I was thinking about reading the synopsis. I guess let's just read the synopsis for the second season, because it'll give you little tidbits on, I don't know, why it's exciting or whatever. As Yumiko Jabami's fame grows and the reputation of the student council dwindles, Kirari Momobami decides to revolutionize the group. To this end, she announces an election for its next president. The rules are simple. Each student in the school receives 1 chip. Whoever has the most chips by the end of the 30 days becomes both the new president and the head of the clan. Upon receiving news of this development, the Momobami branch families spring into action. 11 transfer students arrive at the private academy, whose name I can't pronounce, each aiming to lead both the school and the Momobami clan. Equipped with unique talents, they will compete to get as many chips as possible, but their chips are not the only things on the line. So it's this whole thing is obviously the premise of the second season, and as it all develops, it's definitely really irons it out for you how crazy Kirari is, because she just puts this all into motion just because she likes making things really crazy, hectic, and exciting. So definitely irons it out, and like I said, stick around. I think it was episodes 9 and 10 of season 2, and it is the highlight of the entire show for me personally, and it is a very good time because it's like special time just for my OTP. So that was very exciting for me. Anyway, but otherwise, moving on to final rating and recommendation, I'm going to give this one a 5 out of 5. Very good. This anime made no mistakes worth noting and is definitely worth a buy. So, I highly recommend the anime. It was a very, very good time. It does have the mature rating that I give it, and I have to stick by it because it is quite the thing to take on. But if your age is appropriate and you feel it is for you, and I recommend it. It is quite the ride. A very unique premise, very cool characters, a very pretty art style, music that's really, really great, and it is fantastic. So I highly recommend it. I guess if I had to compare it in some ways, I would have to compare it to, what was the name of that other anime I watched that was just really unexpectedly great? I think it was called Prison School. So if the name is right, I think it reminds me a lot of Prison School, where it's just like so unexpectedly great, like it's so over the top that it's just a fun time. It's a good ride. So it's a lot like Prison School and how crazy it is. So if you watched Prison School, whether on my recommendation or not, and you really, really liked it because of how crazy it all was, I highly recommend this one, because in some ways maybe it'll give you some similar vibes. But regardless, that is it for this one. 2 seasons of an awesome anime that I highly recommend, and definitely a good time. Kirari and Sayaka, definitely best pairing ever, and I highly recommend it for them, and for Yumiko, because she's a good time as well. Regardless, though, I believe I will be releasing this review second, I believe, and so hopefully either this will be the first or second video going out today, but the other video going out will be my part 2 of my How to Date a Magical Girl playthrough. I did get that edited today, and that will be going up. I'm gonna probably put that one up first, so if you're seeing this, if I did stick to that, then this will be the second and final video going out today. Tomorrow, otherwise, recordings should be fairly normal as far as I know. I will be probably try to record 2 videos, and for now, for the very immediate future, that'll be my plan going forward. Will be 2 videos a day, a side game and a main game, just like I used to do back in the day, because my schedule is suddenly more open than it once was. So you can stick around for that. If you're excited for either of the playthroughs I have going, then you'll be pretty jonesing for that. I have not chosen yet the next anime I'm going to watch. I did finish this just today, so I marathoned the last 4 episodes that I had and watched them, and in order to get this review out today. But I have not chosen what I'm going to watch next, but I imagine this evening I will be choosing something else, and we'll be working on that. Anyway, that is going to call for this one. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the content today, and we will talk to you guys later.